Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Before we begin, I just quickly wanted to dedicate this video to the comment from my video from yesterday, which was for my top 10 games of the decade. The comment and all the thumbs up on it that said, we'll never see another PeteDorr video until next month or next year or next decade. Well, this video is for you. Welcome to two back-to-back consecutive PeteDorr videos within 2 days. Let's get started. Today I wanted to talk about consoles that I've given up on collecting for, and I thought this would be a kind of interesting way to start 2020 and kind of just go over consoles that, well, whether it's because they're now too expensive or because I've kind of fallen out of love with them, or maybe because, well, other reasons that we'll get into. I no longer collect for them, period, or no longer collect for them in the way that I used to or you would think. So let's start with modern current gen consoles, and this means the PS4, the Xbox One, and the Switch. So I no longer really consider myself a collector of the current gen platforms. And the reasoning for this has to do a lot with, and I can make a whole entire separate video on this, but there's been too much of an influx of not just new games, but also new rare limited print run oh my god, there's only 500 copies. Sort of like, I'm not the biggest fan of this artificial uh, explosion of rarity among current generation consoles. It kind of took the fun out of it for me. And this kind of stems back, I think, originally to the Vita. And this is nothing against any of these companies, which I'm going to try my best not to mention by name. It's not that I highly dislike them. Just for me as a collector, I'm not really with this whole mentality of, oh my goodness, we need to get these games because, well, I might own them digitally already from 5 years ago, but now I need a physical copy to sit on my shelf. So I think this originally stems back to the Vita, when the Vita started getting a lot of really limited releases of games that, well, most people had never heard of, or were like small indie games that maybe had a digital release 5, 6, 7, or longer years ago. And all of a sudden, they're getting physical releases and very limited releases. And if you miss the initial window, oh boy, that's it. You can't get them anymore. And yes, I know some companies have changed their business practices to allow for the act of pre-ordering, so that there's not this mad rush and they sell out and that's it, it's gone. But just the flood of the market with hundreds of new physical release games kind of killed the fun of collecting Vita for me. And I know I'm kind of jumping around here because I mentioned PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, but I think it's important to understand the origins of how I came to this mindset. And it kind of made me stop collecting for the Vita, just because it was too overwhelming. First of all, even outside of these limited releases, just like official first-party games that were coming out from Sony or like other companies that had normally been publishing games for many, many years, there were too many of those as well. And I'm a very impulsive collector. So, back when I'd ever see some kind of Japanese RPG or some kind of anime game or some cool looking action game or music rhythm game that would come out on, say, the Vita, I'd be like, oh boy, I need that. I don't care what it is, I need it. And that also goes back to like the PlayStation 3, where they were releasing limited editions. And I'm like, oh my God, I love the cover on that. It's anime, it's Japanese RPG. I need it right now. And it just came full circle where I realized, I'm like, I don't need these Vita games anymore to just be sitting on my shelf. I'm okay with not owning everything that looks like I'd enjoy it. There were some games that came out, I'm like, damn, man, I really like that game, and I just passed on it entirely. So I think the oversaturation of the market with just an overabundance of games kind of just killed it for me. And that started carrying over into the current generation with the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, namely mostly the Switch, because the Switch, compared to the other consoles, by far has the most sort of games released that would kind of scratch my my taste in games, and when it comes to like Japanese developed games. And there's just too many. Not just among the limited release games, just like carrying over from what I explained about the Vita, but there's just too many games now. And I think being in the mindset that I'm in right now is probably the most healthy collector's mindset I've ever been in, where I'm like, listen, I don't need all these games. I'm just going to buy the bare minimum that I just really want to play. And if it takes a few years, when some of these games are half the price or even less than that, I'll pick them up then. If certain games go up in price, so be it. That's my loss. If I got to buy them at an inflated price, if they actually become rare, so be it. Because that's another thing about collecting these days. a lot of these limited games or games that you think, like collector's editions, for example, or games that you would think would have a low print run, actually you're not having low print runs. They're overprinting them, and then they're not worth anything in the future. So it's like, if I could just hold off, not only would it save me a lot of money, but then I won't have to even worry about waking up and setting my alarm to get these games that, you have to place a pre-order for or order before it's too late. Um, so for the PS4, Xbox One, Xbox One, that's a whole different story. That probably my least collected and played console in recent memory for new console launches. But let's just say the PS4, for example, I'm actually okay with buying games digitally, but this also ties into the fact that I stream games on Twitch now all the time, and sometimes impulsively I'm like, wow, that would look like a really fun game to stream, but I don't feel like waiting the 2 or 3 days that it would take to order a physical copy and come here. So sometimes I'm just like, forget it, I'm just going to order a digital copy. Sometimes the digital copy is the same price as physical, sometimes it's a little cheaper, but just sort of like that, in the moment, I want this game right now, I'm actually okay. I've come to grips with digital collecting. I'm completely okay with buying a game digitally and not owning a physical copy to sit on my shelf. The downside to that is I have to be very selective in the games that I choose to buy digitally, because if I don't like it, that's it, I'm stuck with it. Whereas with a physical game, you can trade it, you can sell it back, get some of it, recoup some of your money, heck, even hold on to it for years, and hey, maybe it's worth something, like Godzilla 2014, when I made a video about that years ago on release day, pretty much. Telling people, hey, this is a great game, and it's probably going to be rare in the future. And sure enough, that's probably the rarest non-limited release PS4 game that you can currently get. But we're getting off track here. Yeah, so modern generation consoles, I've definitely slowed down my need for, oh my god, I gotta have the physical copy, to just like, okay, I mean, I can wait, I can get the digital. I mean, I still buy physical copies of these new games, but it's very sparingly. How that's going to carry over into the next generation, well, I'm going to have launchitis. I'm going to be buying physical copies for sure. New console launches are always too exciting for me, so we'll see how that goes. Moving on to the next console, and that's the Wii U. The main reason I've given up on collecting Wii U games is, well, first of all, most of the Wii U games that I want are first-party Nintendo games, and as we've seen over the past few years, Nintendo has been porting Wii U games like you would not believe. Heck, even Hello Kitty Cruisers, that one of the rarest Wii U games, is now on the Switch. So it's like, well, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which I had bought several months before the Switch announcement. I bought the Wii U version because I'm like, man, they're probably not going to bring this out. And sure enough, here it is coming to the Switch. So it's like, just wait, see what Nintendo does. There's no point in buying these Wii U versions, some of which are a little pricey in some instances, when they're getting Switch ports. So that's my story with Wii U. I've pretty much not bought a Wii U game since Tokyo Mirage Sessions half a year ago. Okay, so let's get into the more retro side of things now. And the next console that I've kind of pretty much completely stopped collecting for is the Sega Saturn. It's not because I don't like the Sega Saturn. It's because, well, first of all, my Sega Saturn collection is quite healthy. I've got most of the games that I've ever wanted for that thing. I have pretty much every RPG that you can want for that console. And even my import collection is, I'm very happy with it. I have a lot of the heavy hitters that I bought many years ago when they were selling for fractions of a price of what they cost now. Heck, you can refer to my old Sega Saturn video where I go over, like, is import Saturn collecting for you? And I'm mentioning some of the prices that I paid for some of my Saturn imports, and they are like, ooh, man, it is crazy to look back what I paid for those not that long ago compared to the prices now. So my giving up on collecting for the Saturn mostly has to do with the fact that I'm content with my collection. The prices are absolutely ridiculous. If you want any kind of RPG or exclusive or any game that's worth a darn on that system in terms of playability, be it a platformer or RPG, most of them are going to cost you at least $100. You're going to have a very hard time finding games that you're going to be able to find for a good price. I think the last Saturn games I bought were some of the cheaper ones, like High Velocity Racing, Steep Slope Sliders, stuff that doesn't break the bank, 20, $30. Even those games are starting to climb now. So Sega Saturn, it's put into the back seat, but I'm actually very happy with my collection for that. Next up, a system that has forced me to collect cart only, no longer buy complete in box, and that is the original Game Boy. Original Game Boy is just, wow, the prices on complete in box games for that are probably the most obscene, even more obscene than Super Nintendo. We're talking games that you can get the cart for $5, and then the complete in box version is like $200. I mean, of course, I understand the reasoning for that is a lot of people back in the day, especially for rare games, you didn't need to keep those boxes and manuals. You just throw them out because you had the cart, you put it in the little binder or a book or a storage case, whatever have you, and you were content with that. So I get the reason why some of these boxes and manuals are super rare, understandable, but the prices that people are asking for original Game Boy Complete in Box are ridiculous. And it's forced me to collect loose, and I actually really enjoy it. You know, the feeling, I was always envious of people at conventions. I'd see them digging through bins of Game Boy games, and like it was like going through a box of candy and like looking for your favorite flavors. You know, they'd pick out these games for $5, $10, and I knew that they were worth a little bit more than that. And I'm like, man, I really envy those people that can go through those bins of loose games, because I had this stuck up mindset. I'm like, I need everything complete in box for original Game Boy, and it was a very relieving process, a lot of weight off my shoulders when I finally made the decision I'm gonna just buy a loose Game Boy only. And I was able to dig through those bins and find some nice deals. I mean, it was fun as heck, let me tell you, digging through those loose Game Boy bins at conventions and sales and whatnot. So yeah, I've actually pretty much sold off my entire complete in box original Game Boy collection. The only things that remain are like very nostalgic games that have a lot of sentimental value to me. But now I just do complete Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and loose Game Boy original. All right, next is the N-Gage, sticking within the handheld realm. I've given up on collecting the N-Gage. There was actually a time where I was going for a complete N-Gage collection. However, the prices that people are asking for N-Gage games now are stupid. Don't get me wrong, I love my N-Gage. I've played a lot of N-Gage, more than most people ever have. I have maybe like a 60, 70% of the way through the N-Gage collection. I have a lot of the rare games, but there's still rare games and even common games that I'm missing. But even the prices of the common games are just dumb, and nobody's buying them. You look on eBay and you look at the sold listings for N-Gage, like here and there somebody might buy something rare, but for the most part nobody's even buying N-Gage games, especially the common games, for these ridiculous prices of like 50, 60, 70. Rare games, forget about it, they're asking 150, 200, and these games not that long ago were nowhere near those prices. And just hold off, because eventually they're going to have to come down. No one's buying them, and it would just be dumb to spend $200 on a game I'm probably going to play for an hour or two at the most on my stream and be like, all right, that was cool, let's move on. So yeah, N-Gage, it's taking a backseat until people realize, goddamn, maybe we should lower our prices to what they used to be a few years ago, and then maybe people would buy them. Bright idea. All right, next handheld, Wonderswan Color. The main reason I've given up on Wonderswan Color is not because I dislike the console. I love the Wonderswan Color. There's some great exclusives on there, like Dicing Night Period. Absolutely wonderful handheld game. Love that game so much. Very expensive though. If you can download a ROM or whatever the heck you want to do to try playing that game, give it a try. But the main reason is because I no longer buy games that I can't stream, because I need to get that value out of, okay, if I'm going to be spending money on this game, I need to get some kind of redeeming quality of being able to stream it for my audience on Twitch. I can't do that with the Wonderswan. I do stream with a webcam, and I've streamed the N-Gage, I've streamed the Gizmondo, I've streamed that freaking Virtual Boy before capture cards were available for that thing by using webcams, and my quality was pretty good. However, the Wonderswan, the quality on that, because of the way to light it, it's just too hard to capture off-screen gameplay of that thing, especially with the ghosting. And there's currently no way to direct capture from a Wonderswan or Wonderswan Color. So until that day comes, I've pretty much given up on collecting Wonderswan Color, as much as I would love to buy more games for that thing, because they are relatively cheap. I love the boxes, and the games are generally quite good. For example, did you know there's a port of freaking Clock Tower on the Wonderswan Black and White, and Riviera the Promised Land? Like, there's some really impressive stuff on there. But yeah, until there's a direct capture, gonna have to put a hold on that. Analog, please. I know you're coming out with the Analog Pocket for like Game Boy, Neo Geo Pocket Color. Please do something for the Wonderswan. There's a market there for it. And lastly, I've given up on anything Neo Geo, except for the Pocket Color, but I'll get to that. So I used to own a Neo Geo AES home console, and I decided to get rid of that thing and the few games that I had for it, because even years ago the prices were astronomical. So looking at the prices now, I am so glad that I traded that thing away. I think I got like a bunch of Jaguar games traded for it or something, but I was very happy with the trade and still am. And then I got a consoleized MVS, which I was happy with. But then even even MVS carts back then, it used to be a nice cheap alternative. But even now, MVS carts, even the fake reproduction carts for MVS, are very expensive. Eventually, what I plan on doing is getting a multi-cart for my MVS, just get that multi-cart, slap it in there, and be done with buying individual carts and boxes. Like I was doing the whole shock box thing, where I'd get an MVS cart and get the shock box and the art to go with it. Really cool, looks great on a shelf. Very space heavy though. But yeah, eventually once I get my multi-cart, I'm going to be completely done with Neo Geo home console or MVS stuff. However, the Neo Geo Pocket Color, while I had recently just given up on collecting Neo Geo Pocket Color because the prices were getting a little crazy, but also because there was no real good way to stream it, off-screen capture is just not really feasible for that with the screen. But thank you to Analog, and this is not an advertisement by the way, but thank you to Analog for, holy moly, giving us the ability to capture Neo Geo Pocket Color games, our carts, on a TV, and I'll be able to stream it. Like, I am beyond, it's one of my most excited things I'm most excited for in 2020. Seriously, the Neo Geo Pocket Color converter for the Analog Pocket. Can't wait for that darn thing. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. 2 videos back to back. I know it's a lot. It's a lot of videos. My goodness, I'm already upping my video output astronomically compared to the last year or two. So hey, if you enjoyed it, leave a comment below. What consoles have you guys stopped collecting for recently? You know, are there consoles that price-wise kind of maybe fallen out of love with it? You know, hey, leave a comment below. Let me know. I'd actually be quite curious. Also, because YouTube, evil YouTube, does not let me plug any links for Twitch within the little end screen thing. So I have to give a verbal shout out to let you guys know that I do stream full-time on Twitch these days. I'd love to see some of you pop over to my stream, twitch.tv/PeteDorr. I stream almost every day, typically about 5 to 7 times per week. I stream really weird retro stuff over there. Every night we have discussions. I eBay game hunt in real time, so if you used to enjoy those videos, well, you can spend 5+ hours a night with me when I go through that on my Twitch page. But yeah, most of all, love to have you. We have a great community going over there, and people are very welcoming. Even if you just want to lurk, hey, that's fine as well. I'll have a link for that in the description below. Once again, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on a video soon. Maybe sooner.